My friends, you know how sometimes somebody who's sick becomes very pessimistic. I'm not going to make it. This is going to do me in. Then you, their friend, will say something like, don't worry, you'll get through this thing just fine. Even if you don't really believe it yourself. That's what we say. And that's what St. Peter does in the gospel story we've just listened to today. When Jesus revealed to his disciples that he was going to suffer and die, Peter says something like, don't talk like that. Nothing will happen to you. We will take care of you. And Jesus, as you know, becomes infuriated. Get behind me, Satan. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do. Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. St. Peter, in effect, is trying to prevent Jesus from following God's plan: life, suffering and death, resurrection. Peter wants to forget about the cross, the suffering, and so in many cases do we. That's why so often we ask God to remove the crosses from our lives, to take them all away, and let's just have peace and quiet and things the way I want them to be. But Jesus reminds us that yes, there's no problem with asking that the crosses of our lives might be removed. But it seems as though God would prefer us to ask for the strength to bear the cross, with the understanding that this pattern, life, death, resurrection, with what that pattern means for us as individuals, that pattern is the normal reality of life. We carry our crosses. First reaction usually is to ask God to remove the cross. For example, we're all praying for an end to this terrible pandemic, the current one that we're going through, and as well as for the removal of many other crosses in our lives. As I said before, there's nothing wrong with that, certainly. But can we move a little bit more deeply into our life of prayer by perhaps praying that if the cross that is such a burden to us is not to be removed, then God will give us the grace to accept those crosses in order to follow the pattern that Jesus gives to us in the gospel today. Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. It seems almost a contradiction. But when we think about it, really think about it, then slowly but surely we start to understand. And then we ask ourselves, is this something that I can do? And the answer is yes. It is something that I can do, and that all of us can do, but only if we transform our lives, as St. Paul advises us in today's second reading. Do not conform yourselves to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and pleasing and perfect. With the understanding that to accept and to conform our lives to God's will is the way that we can understand that to which we are called, and that we are called today by the gospel to take up our cross each and every day of our lives.